For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney Montgomery. I'm the CEO of Montgomery Admissions Consulting, where we specialize in working with first generation and minority law school applicants. And today I am thrilled because we have with us Tiffaney Boyd, one of our former students. She was actually in one of our law school application boot camps. She crushed this cycle. She is going to talk to us a little bit about her journey and how she's going to Berkeley Law School in the fall with a full tuition public interest scholarship. And guys, the kicker is that she had a 152 LSAT. And I don't know how many times I tell you guys that you are more than a number, that your story is important, that your soft factors, your work experience, your letters of recommendation, that they all matter. But Tiffany is living proof that you absolutely can achieve anything that you set your mind to, and you shouldn't let your numbers dictate your success in life. So, without further ado, I am so pleased to bring on Tiffany. Hello, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today.
Yes. So, I know I gave a little bit of a background, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, what was bringing you to law school?
Sure. So I grew up in Southern California in Hemet, in a small town in Hemet, California. I went to Cal State San Marcos and double majored in communication social sciences. I was a first generation college student. After graduating from college, I always intended to want to go to law school, but decided to do a few fellowships. One of those fellowships was in the state capitol here at California, and been for the last 4 years doing policy, legislative, and government affairs work. And really, I got impassioned to want to go to law school as a child, just seeing the criminal justice system seeing family members, come in and out of, the criminal justice system. And I really wanted to try to make a change within the criminal justice system, as well as really looking at the racial wealth gap.
I love that. And I love that you're someone that I feel like is so passionate, and it doesn't just come from an intellectual or academic interest, but you've really been able to take your personal experiences, your personal story, and make it part of your passion and your reason for going to law school. And I think you had such a clear focus and clear determination throughout. Now, I know I said you're going to Berkeley Law in the fall. This was actually your second time applying to law school. So can you just walk me through a little bit your law school journey? I know it's a little long, but
Right.
help us understand, because there are so many different paths to law school, and I really like the message here is that people should not give up on their dreams. And so if you could just walk me through a little bit your journey, the ups, the downs, the twists, I would love that.
Absolutely. So again, I graduated in 2016. That year in 2016, I had actually done a UCLA Law Fellows program, and for folks who are thinking about law school or in college, that could be a really great program to do. But basically, at the end of completing that Fellows program, you receive a LSAT program for free, a study LSAT. And so that summer, I had studied for the LSAT in 2016. So way back then, I had studied for the LSAT, had took a course, and was trying to, get my numbers up. It wasn't the greatest. And so, again, I decided to kind of just get more experience and recognize that you can make change, you can be helpful on systemic levels and not necessarily go to law school. And so continued, to try to make my impact the way I could. And then in 2019, I got, again, re-inspired, reinvigorated to continue, my journey to law school. And so I had, asked my employer for letters of recommendations. I asked my professor for letter of rec, took the LSAT again. And this is, everything has changed, but, I'm on pen and paper back in 2019. And I took it, and they were doing, I think at the time, they were testing out, getting online. And I think it was the first class that you would have either had a paper or online. And I ended up having another paper. But I took it in the Bay Area. I had visited Berkeley Law that fall of 2019. And just through life and working, I got really busy. But in February, which, as a first generation, you see that February 15th might be like a deadline for colleges. And so I had tried to apply by February 15th, but by that time, I believe that like Berkeley and other, I think, top 14 schools had already, I think their deadline had passed or something, because I couldn't actually apply for Berkeley. But I applied, I had a waiver, so I applied for 4 schools that cycle. And then by the time I started getting responses back, which was March, we had the pandemic. So this is 2020. At this point, my mom had lost a job. One of my aunts had died from coronavirus. I was working in the state legislature, and we were doing a ballot initiative through the legislature to bring affirmative action back to California after 24 years of being banned by Prop 209. And it was just a lot happening. And I decided that I didn't even respond to colleges. I just kind of let it, float. And then I continued to work. And, fast forward some more. At the end of the election season in 2020, the outcome didn't come out as great as we wanted. And there was, real disappointment around the ballot initiatives that we had done. And I just got re-inspired. So as, the political atmosphere and just different things happening, to want to get back into my journey into law school. And it kind of, the coronavirus had settled down by then. And so I applied it, or I started focusing on applying again. And basically, I knew that I needed help. It's a lengthy journey. It's isolating, can be isolating. And I know that at one point I was just Googling, looking, and talking to friends who had maybe made, the transition to law school. And a lot of people talked about how they, got private tutors, how they got worked with consultants, how they really invested in this process. And so that's when I kind of Googled just different kind of admissions help and consulting. And that's when I found Sydney, your page, and it really spoke to me because it was talking about underrepresented, it was talking about low income, it was talking about faith, and all of those things, really resonated with me and intersected with just my personal being, wanting somebody who understands the different dynamics that I'm coming to law school or trying to matriculate into law school with.
And it's wild to me how time works. But we started working together, I feel like April. You were in that April boot camp, right? And so the boot camps are 12-week journeys, but obviously we continued to stay in touch and to help, even with scholarship essays afterwards. But,
Right.
when you were, I know this is one of those things that we talked about when we first started working together. What were some of the things that you were most nervous about going into the cycle? Because I know that you told us a little bit about your LSAT journey, but I feel like there were goals that you had with the LSAT that still were problematic even as you were going through the boot camp. So, like, what were you most nervous about through that process, through last cycle?
Yeah, so I knew, and you're exactly right. So I started in April, or we started the boot camp in April. I knew I wanted to apply for the next season, and I wanted to get as much information or as much help as possible to make strong essays, to make strong, just I guess process wise, and to have those deadlines or somebody to be accountable for. I had kind of given up on the LSAT by the time that I had came to you, because I just felt that that number wasn't going to increase too much. I think I took, the LSAT in 2020, and it was just a very interesting process. And so I think for me, what I was most nervous about was just making sure that I applied on time and that I was cognizant of a schedule, because I think being working full time, certain things kind of get to the back burner. And so I think I was most nervous about actually making the deadline, because the cycle of law school, but at the same time, if I didn't feel that my essays were strong enough, I could just prolong and be in my head about whether this is the right way to go or direction. And so I think that's what really helped me, is getting feedback on essays, getting feedback on the process, and just really having a roadmap to what the next few months could look for me.
And how did you decide? Because there are so many students who they get that LSAT score back, right? And I remember when you and so many students they get that LSAT score back and they're like, well, I'm not applying to half the schools on my list anymore, or I'm not applying at all, right? So how did you overcome that kind of negative talk? You know, you got your LSAT score back. You're still like, no, I want to apply on time. I'm gonna still apply to these schools. Like,
Yeah.
how did you talk yourself into that?
Sure. I think that's a great question. For me, I had when I applied for the 2019 cycle very late and with even lower score. I think at that time I was like 151 or maybe 149 because I was able to boost it up a little bit in this past season. But I think what really helped me is that I had gotten accepted into three of the four schools that I had applied to during that cycle. And so it was encouraging, I think, for me that I had got accepted, even though I didn't attend, and the financial aid, I didn't actually have a very good plan of what that looked like to pay for law school if I would have matriculated in the 2020 season. And so I think that gave me a boost of encouragement that I was accepted then. And I knew that if I could plan it out right and really make strong connections and have strong through line of my application, that perhaps, there's a goal. I think one of the things I learned early on is just let them say no. And I've always let that kind of help guide me where it's like, I might have a self, defeating thoughts or anything, but at the same time, I should put my name in the ring regardless and see what the outcome and let them say no than for me to say no to myself before an opportunity actually presents itself. And I felt really just strong personally about Berkeley, and I was very timid in my application cycle. I think one, there's a lot of fees, the cash fee to apply for everything. I had already spent a lot of money on different things, and so and I had already really thought about what location I wanted, what I could actually thrive in, and what certain law schools give me as far as Berkeley Law has a very good public mission and public interest outlook at their campus already. And so I had applied to only a few schools. I want to say maybe five schools this season that I knew I wanted to go. If I got accepted, I would actually go. I didn't try to, apply to 14 and see my chances or luck, but I was just very narrowly focused on like, this is where a location in a school that I feel comfortable being at if I got accepted. And I just let, everything kind of let the chips fall. And I think Sydney's prayers and my own prayers really helped out and worked. But that's kind of my mantra is just to let them say no. And I think I had got my point up one more point, 152, and I was struggling even then with Sydney, and she had introduced me to Mina, which I know was on a different I think live not too long ago, and Mina helped me with the LSAT. I got a private tutor, then I was doing a different LSAT. I think you introduced me to a different LSAT company as well. And so I was trying to, juggle both getting my number up as well as the application materials. And I just felt that if there was ever a time, this is, the time. And one of the other things that I did that I think helped, perhaps, I'm not sure, but I did apply early decision as well. And I think that showed my dedication and commitment to wanting to go to Berkeley.
I think you are the epitome of that scripture, that talks about having faith as small as a mustard seed, right? Because we can never make guarantees about any kind of outcomes, but we can pray. And we can trust that God will open the doors that He wants you to walk through. And I always say, like, if God has it for you, no man can say no, right? If it's for you, then who cares about your LSAT score, right? Because like LSAT score God, right? So
Right.
like, and that's why I'm so proud of you, honestly, because you never let go of that faith. And then even had continued faith for scholarship and finances. Like, even once you got in, you were like, okay, well, I'm really going to go for this public interest scholarship. Like, talk to me about that. Because I feel like for you, like, God is doing so much in your life. Like, these doors don't open for him not to have something big on the other side. So, like, talk to me about your public interest scholarship. I mean, you're going full tuition.
Absolutely. Yeah, full tuition for 3 years. And so that's really exciting. So for me, I didn't know much about this public interest scholars program. So in your application, I think by chance, and again, like you can see God's hand probably through everything, in my life, but by chance I had seen online that, the public interest scholars program is only 1 year old. So I'll be the second cohort of this public interest scholars program that Berkeley is doing as a dedication to their public mission, and as I think as a result of some of the racial reckoning of 2020 as well, that they started this program. And so I had by chance seen that there was a cohort, and that the only thing you have to do is mention the public interest scholars program in your application material. So it wasn't a separate lengthy scholarship that you actually apply to and have other perhaps material or a dedicated essay to. But I just mentioned it in the last paragraph of my personal statement that because I do have a public interest leaning and focus, that this would also help me with my costs and my financial barriers into becoming a law student. And there's a different program called the Berkeley Law Opportunity Scholar that I did, have, and that's for first generation students that I did, try to do a whole new essay and try to really make my case. And I remember when I, didn't get that scholarship, which also provides free tuition as well. And I was like, oh man, like that's really disappointing. As part of early decision, you get, some money, but it wasn't, the full cost of tuition. And I got a phone call later in February, and I just kind of let it go, I guess, and just still praying. And I have this box that I have that has different lists of like prayers that I just like keep in this box. And then I like, as things get, I guess, checked off, you kind of be able to reflect. And so one of it was like financing my legal career was one, like getting into Berkeley was another. And so the prayer of like manifestation is, I guess, real. But I got a phone call and they said, hey, like you have a certain amount of money because you applied early decision. But I wanted to let you know that we are going to give you the public interest scholars in which you have full tuition for 3 years, kind of like instead. And I was just like, wait, what? And it
Amazing.
was so
Amazing.
it was so crazy because I wasn't sure if it was like a good call or not call because he was just talking like very monotone. And then I was like, so this is a good thing. He was like, yeah, this is a great thing. And I'm like, perfect. And so I think that that's also powerful that it wasn't even like me trying like super effort. And it was just kind of happenstance. So I definitely think trust, the process, trust God. But that's kind of, I'll be in the second cohort of public interest scholars program. And it's really showing a dedication to public interest, from, a through line from your work from before. It's kind of something that helps people who already have demonstrated an interest in public interest.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, I get goosebumps. I still remember when I got the text from you. Like I was like, I wasn't even at home. I was like traveling somewhere. I was in a hotel and I was like jumping up and down. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
It was definitely heavy on my heart the whole time. I was super excited that I got into Berkeley, but there's still so much. There's still a lot that's still happening, and opportunities for, I think, God to shine, because like I can't do this on my own. I wouldn't have been able to do this on my own. And so I'm really grateful that, Berkeley has their public mission and that I was able to really make a connection. I think one of the things that stood out for my application is really connecting why I wanted to go to Berkeley. Berkeley does have a why statement that they ask as an optional for students. And I think that that's something that probably stood out, is that I had visited the campus way in 2019. I had that vision for a long time on Berkeley versus any other school. I didn't really want to necessarily go to Ivy or be on the East Coast and the code and everything. So I really wanted Berkeley. And so I think that it really did demonstrate, my commitment with working with past students, alumni, working on legislation that Berkeley Law had also, they have like a policy clinic and working with that before, really gave us another through line of like why this is the campus that I wanted to spend my 3 years for a law as a law student.
I love that. One of the things I wanted to know if you could touch on, just in case people are not sure, like, I'd love for you to talk us through your experience in the boot camps, and just like specifically, like as a first gen student. I mean, most of our students are first gen or minority, but like, what was it like for you in the boot camp? What kind of support did you get? How do you feel like it helped play a role in how everything turned out? If you could just talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So I was really nervous and hesitant around the boot camp experience. Of course, you're spending time out of your schedule to really work and work with it. And I was working, and I think one of the great things around timeline and around where I was at in that lifetime was that I was able to work from home, in which the schedule of the boot camp really was able to integrate with my schedule itself. And so we were placed with, I think there was about 3 other students or maybe 4 other students at max that was there. And I think that intimate setting was really good for me. At the same time, it is other eyes and other people there. And so you're able to kind of workshop, hear other people's questions, or listen to other people's experience that's going to it. Again, I think that the law school journey is one of isolation, especially for first generation low income students, because you don't have family that really understands what you're going through or the sacrifices that you're trying to make, or really the end goal. Even if they support you in concept, it's really hard to for them to practically support you in a lot of ways. And so I think that being able to have, I think it was either bi-monthly or maybe monthly, I'm not sure at the time. I feel like it feels like so long ago, but being able to check in, you get this really good resource, a platform in which you can kind of see where we're going. And I think for a person who like loves planning, you can kind of see where we're going. And I think that was helpful for me about, the start to the finish of where we're going to achieve. And so I think, in addition, I think for me, it was good to see other people going through the process and really taking it seriously, as well as being able to connect with Sydney one-on-one outside of the boot camp hours. And you're able to also schedule that on Wednesdays. And I don't know if Sydney, if other people had as many office hours as I attended, but I kept attending office hours to connect with her, because I think there is a lot of insecurity that just comes, or I have insecurities about it. And I think just being able to talk to somebody was really helpful.
Yeah, you took advantage of office hours. All the boot camps come with small group sessions. They come with a couple, like 4 private sessions outside editing, but they also come with weekly office hours. And girl, you were in office hours.
I definitely was. And I think at the beginning, she was asking for a lot from us to have like your why statement, have your different other things. And at first, it took me a while to really get into it. I don't know why it took. I think had to do with my work cycle as well, but it took a while. And at first, I was really behind, and there was different benchmarks that we were supposed to make. And I felt the pressure later on. She had checked in, like, "Hey, is everything okay? Like, just things are due." And I think I'm also a person who works on deadlines and due dates. And so, as that deadline and due date came closer and near, then I really started ramping up my output. And I think that was really helpful for me. And I know myself enough to know that I do deadlines and due dates. And so if that's, somebody for you, then I think that it's really good for you to be in a boot camp, because you do have that accountability. And I can say for like assurance that during my 2019 schedule and everything was late. And that's why I applied in February of the next year, even though I knew I wanted to apply, because when you're somebody who's, based off of like output, it's going to be like external things that kind of help guide you. And I had a lot of work that was guiding me to do other stuff. And so by having her say, "Hey, like this is due this time," it was really a great reinforcement.
Absolutely. I always tell students, like, I'm gonna support you. This is family, right? This is family. We're gonna love on you. I'm gonna help you feel guided, but I'm gonna need you to work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push you, right? It's that like other side of
Right.
love. It's like that tough love. It's like, okay, well, like, where are my essays? Because I need my
Yeah.
essays,
Whip you
right?
into shape. Yeah.
I'm
And
not gonna leave you behind, but we gonna get you there.
yeah, and she'll whip you into shape to say, like, you're not trying hard enough. I need more from this. Bring this out. And I think that that's also really important because it's like, I was trying to get away with what I can get away with. And I think that she also knew that, like, there's more for you to say or work, work this part or scratch this out completely. And I think that, like, honesty was also something that I needed and what I craved as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that so oftentimes we just and this is, you see this with students all the time. There's so much data on this. Students rise to the expectations set for them, right? And I don't believe in, I'm not discouraging or, I don't think I'm too hard, but I think that it's important to have high expectations because I believe deeply that all of my students can be wildly successful in this process, and I see, and if I see that in you, I want to pull it out and I want you to see it for yourself because sometimes we have started to accept, well, this is just kind of where I am, or this is what I can do, or this is the level I can achieve. And it's like, no, like you're called for greater. God's called us for greater, right? And so, I want you to get to greater, but like you have to know that it's achievable and you have to know that there's someone that believes in you. I always say, like, if you don't believe in yourself, believe in me who believes in you, right? Because that's,
Mm,
if you can only do that, if you at least have faith in me and I have faith in you, then we're going to get somewhere. And then eventually you can have faith in yourself, right? But I need you to like meet me halfway and we can get to the finish line kind of thing.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think it was also great to see her whip other students into shape as well and see, because then it's like I have to I have to be on my game the next time as well. And so I think seeing, the other students and having students who are at the same level as you as far as in their application journey and in some way, form, or fashion was also really helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I want you to know, like, tell us if you were gonna tell, you know, past Tiffany, or if you were gonna tell another student that is watching this, maybe what advice do you have for them if they're, it's basically June, right? People are just kind of getting into the application cycle. What advice do you have for other students thinking about going through this process?
Yeah, I definitely say, believe in yourself. Don't count yourself out. That you never know what your future path can look like. Be open to the process and to continue to just really make a through line of why you want to go to law school. Why you? Why now? Why there? Wherever that campus may be. Would be a really good, I think, advice for you. I think know yourself is really important. I think for me, I really had to dive deep about what I wanted and how I can work to best achieve it. And so that's why I decided to go with Sydney and to do the boot camp because I knew I needed accountability. I knew I needed just community. I knew I needed um, feedback. I think that's I think that's what really helped me through the process is that I wasn't sure if this is reading well to other people, and although you could potentially ask a colleague or a professor or anything, it felt buggy to me. And I think by being in this program where you have a kind of consultant, it was really helpful that that's what she's here for. That's what she's here for. And that helped me ease my concerns. But I think that know yourself, try to make a timeline, a plan, and work backwards. I think like one of the 7 highly effective habits is to think with the end in mind and work back. And so I think for anybody who's kind of going through the process, think of what kind of students are at the campus that you want to be at, what kind of professors, what kind of level of hard and scrutiny and prestige or meticulousness that they have, and then be meticulous in your and getting letters of recommendations and getting your different diversity and personal essays done and trying to, achieve a score, but recognize that your score is not everything. And I think that it proves through my story that your score isn't anything. And I promise you, I didn't believe. I felt like everybody says, it's your LSAT score and your GPA. I did have a pretty high GPA. I had a 3.8 coming from undergrad, but at the same time, I came from a CSU, and sometimes people look at the California State University system as less than other systems, and I wouldn't let that deter you or anything, because I'm a product of the CSU, and I think that that's also really important. But at the same time, I did have a high GPA, so as much as you can prove that you have what it takes. I think that that's also going to be really important. But try to keep your GPA and your LSAT score as much as you can. Those are certain factors, but know that your story, your personal story, your reason why you're going to law school, and hopefully it's for all of the great reasons, because we need it. Then you'll be accepted. That's how I feel. I feel like, oh, maybe I could have applied to other places, and perhaps I could have gotten into other schools. Perhaps if I would have thought of applying, I knew where I wanted to go, so I think I'm really happy with my outcome. But I would say, apply and see where the chips, fall.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thinking, I love what you said about, thinking with the end in sight, or like that destination. So I'm going to ask the question to you, although it's not quite the end, but you are embarking on a new journey this fall. What are some ways that you are going to try to make that transition into your first year of law school as smooth as possible?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think in some ways, you kind of have to just go through it with all of the kinks and stuff. But I'm networking already. I'm really starting to reach out to different students, reach out to student orgs, reach out to lawyers in my area, which will be the Bay Area. And so I've been really just doing informational interviews, trying to figure out the lay of the land ahead of time so I can have a network and a community. As I mentioned, that's really important to me. And so I'm already trying to create, that atmosphere and that ecosystem for me, so that I feel supported. I feel like I know somebody in this new city that I'll be moving into. And then I would say, like, that's what I'm kind of focused on right now. And then, of course, housing is really expensive in the Bay Area. And so I'm trying to figure out that cost of living part of how, and trying to wrap my head around loans and other stuff, because I've been pretty blessed to not have to take out so many for undergrad. And so just trying to figure out getting to law school in that timing. In addition to that, I'm really just trying to be present. I think one of my problems that, for my own self-awareness, is I kind of have analysis paralysis for the future, and sometimes I overthink for the future. And so I'm trying to be present right now, try to spend time as much with my family and as much with friends, since I know that most likely once I get into law school, it's going to be a different shift of dynamics. And so really trying to be present right now, so that it doesn't feel like I didn't take an opportunity before law school to really just enjoy the moment of pre-law, I guess.
I love that. I mean, family is so important, especially with everything going on in the world. It is really important to take the time when you can to spend it with your loved ones and to cherish every moment, and also to stay joyful and thankful for all the experiences we have. What's one thing that you're really looking forward to next year?
I look forward to probably doing whatever my 1L summer job is what I'm really excited for. I'm excited to kind of expand my knowledge of the different ways, or like the different pathways of law school. I think that in a lot of ways you are going to be going back to, like undergrad, in which there's so many pathways that you can kind of go with law. And so I'm excited to really be open for opportunity to learn more about just different ways. So like tech and law, or privacy and law, and of course I have my economic lens that I want to do law school around. But I think I'm really excited to really be open up to different ways that the law school, since, and at your first L year, that you're exposed to a lot. So I think that's what I'm most excited for, and excited for the cohort, and just to probably get that anxiety over of like I completed my 1L year. I think that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, 1L is, I had fun during my 1L year. Like, it's not great. It's not great 1L, but it can be great. And I just want to like emphasize that it can be great. I know Berkeley also, like Harvard, has an alternative grading system, in
Mm-hmm.
which they don't really have grades. And so I would say like have your best life. Like do well, learn lots, network, but also like I had a lot of fun during 1L year.
We have to
Like
define fun, Sydney.
I went to parties.
Okay, okay.
I
We're
was
just
very
giving hope.
involved. I was very involved in the Black Law Students Association. I ended up becoming social chair, co-social chair my 2L and my 3L year.
Wow.
Y'all know that I left Harvard with a boyfriend, so I had
Oh
fun.
snap! I did not know that.
He wasn't from the law school, but from the greater Harvard Black community. But no, there's fun to be had. There's fun to be had, and good learning, right? I still did well in school.
Right.
You can have a balance, right? You need work hard, play hard, right? Not work hard, play none. Work hard, play hard.
Right.
Because ultimately, also, I tell people this all the time. Like your law school friends, they're friends for life, right? These are the people whose weddings I'm going to. These are the people who, I can count on. But these are also people who are, like, some of my friends are running for Congress. Some of my friends are already mayors, right? So you never know. And I'm only, almost 5 years out of law school, right?
Right.
And so 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, these are the people who are investors. These are the people that are heads of, foundations. Like, it's such a beautiful network. It's such a rich network. I try to stress that to students, especially first-gen students. Networking is really the key to so much in life. You can get a lot of places by working hard, but truly successful people also get places by knowing the right people that can help them get where they need to be a little bit faster. And so I always say that you want to make sure that you're not just head in the books for 3 years and you come out of it and you didn't know nobody, right? Because it's
Mm.
not going to be as fulfilling a legal career. Like, you want people you can call and be like, hey, I'm thinking of changing jobs. Boom, I got you. Hey, I'm running for
Right.
Congress. Boom, I got you. Hey, my company's in an investment round. Boom, I got you, right? Like, those are the things that you want. It's not just to, like, not because you're using people, but it's like, you're helping them too. Like, it's a beautiful thing. There are only so many Black lawyers, right? It's a
Right.
real small community. You might think that it's a lot of, it's really not. And so we have to help each other, right? We're all family. We have to help each other. Is there anything else that you want to like tell people before we do questions?
Not really. I think I echo everything that you did say as far as just being in community and networking with other people. I think that that's one of the things that I'm trying to do already. And even for the Black law students, for admitted students at Berkeley, I've already connected with a lot of students who either just, got admitted to Berkeley. Some of them might be going to Berkeley. Some of them are going to choose other campuses, but we already kind of have a group chat. And I think just being a working professional already, I kind of seen how much network has gotten me a job where perhaps I wouldn't have funneled all the way to the top perhaps or not. And so I think that I just echo that sentiment, and I'm excited for during my visit at admitted students for Berkeley, learning just all of the people who had came there from different walks of life and are just visiting and figuring out. I'm just really excited for what the future holds, because people were doing amazing work. I think that one of the great things of probably law school and Berkeley Law admitted students were that it was a very swath of diversity of folks who were coming to the school. It was not everybody came from a legislative policy background. People were doing all types of things before serving our country and all different things. And so I'm really excited to just really open my world, expose myself to just different people, different walks of life, and different avenues. So much gratitude towards you, Sydney. It's been such a pleasure working with you through this whole process. I'm so excited for what's to come and for us to continue our relationship and the
Yes.
relationship with the other folks. As you said, it's a small community, and I just really appreciate you being such holding the door open for others.
Oh, well, thank you, Tiffany. I am excited for our continued relationship because This is not end. I'm not going anywhere. But I am so proud of you. I'm so honored that I could be a part of your journey and your story, and I cannot wait to see what you do next.
Amen. Me neither.
All right, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited, and we will see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for another amazing episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to Tiffany's story. I hope it was inspiring. I hope it reminded you that you are more than a number and that there is so much more in you that you can contribute to the law school community besides your LSAT score. If this video and Tiffany's story was helpful, make sure that you like and subscribe, rate and review, share it with a friend. You can always submit questions at bit.ly/breakintolawschool. We have our free conference June 25th through 26th. You can go to breakintolawschool.com/conference or bit.ly/join BILS. And we cannot wait to see you there. Talk to you soon.